Good day, Maswati Lamahle. Once again, we got Finance in Focus. We're talking about what's happening, what's relevant to us at the moment, and where we are as a nation, all the hot issues in the Ministry of Finance. So this week, as we know then, obviously that 0.5% VAT has now fallen away. With South Africa not going ahead, we are also not going ahead as Eswatini, and so that will not be happening at this stage. Otherwise, we have then obviously come back from the US and we've had our spring meetings in the USA. Many of the meetings that we had were really productive in the sense that just follow-ups and catch-ups on the different aspects that we work on as a country. One of the important ones was with the World Bank and working with them on the new IDA window that we have, which is a concessional window, and to make sure we fully understand it and can utilize it as best as possible. It really is very concessional for us as a government, and it will really help us to make sure the debt that we have is a lot cheaper than what we're having it now. At the moment, we have already quite concessional debt, and this is even more concessional with a lot of grant elements to it. But I think what is very exciting for us this week, and that is that we have been working quite hard to try to finance the arrears and finance the government's cash flow. Ever since, for instance, since I've been a minister, since 2018, I can speak for, we've been in arrears ever since that time. And it's just really terrible doing business as government when you just can't pay suppliers on time. When cycle money comes in, sometimes we settle everyone, and it's just a matter of a few weeks again, and you start delaying payments again. It really is an awful cycle that we've been in. When I came in as a minister, we had like 6 billion emalangeni of arrears. We've worked that down to about 2 billion, 1.5, but that last stock of arrears just isn't going away, and we're not managing to get rid of it by any other means. So we have to go to the market and go and loan money for this. And again, you must understand, even though we're going to loan money to be able to deal with the arrears and deal with our cash flow, it is really not loaning money. Actually, all we're doing is, by not having the cash flow, is we're loaning money from suppliers, which is very, very unhealthy and not the right thing to do as government, meaning the cost of supplies goes up, suppliers are not in time, it hurts our economy when we do that. So we need to deal with this once and for all. So we approached the World Bank for around $100 million US. We've approached the African Development Bank for $45 million US, and we've approached the OPEC fund for $50 million US. Now, keeping in mind, this money is going to not only deal with the arrears and the backlog and the budget shortfall in last year, it's also going to deal with the budget shortfall that we have in this year that we are in. There is about 1.5 billion needed in the budget, as was tabled when I spoke and when I mentioned the budget, but we'll also be closing that gap. So what we've had was the World Bank gave us a whole lot of prior actions that we needed to do, which means I said, Ministry of Finance, Eswatini, if you can do these things, you'll then qualify for the loan, because these loans are also concessional. It's very well priced loans, where normally for budget support you're going for commercial funding, which is expensive. So to get the concessional financing from the World Bank, you need to do a whole lot of prior actions. We had 9 of those. We did all of them. We've got them all tied up, and the World Bank went to board on the 29th of April. And we have just heard the good news that the board has approved the 100 million loan for Eswatini. So the moment we get the finalization and the paperwork from that, we will then take it through the process, take it to Cabinet. It must still get approved by Parliament. His Majesty must still sign off. We'll then go through that process. But at least from the World Bank side, that 100 million has been signed off. The African Development Bank was waiting for the World Bank to agree. And once they agree, it triggers their process to approve the $45 million US. And the same for the OPEC fund. They also said that they are willing to support us with this. But once the World Bank has approved, they use the World Bank as the benchmark, because they have so many tools and they make sure that they actually do this budget support in the right way. But both the African Development Bank and the OPEC fund are both following the World Bank's lead on this. Now, if the World Bank has approved, we should get approval from these other two, meaning that we are raising over 3 billion emalangeni. In money that we can then use. And with the goal that we are trying to do as a Ministry of Finance is to be able to settle arrears, is to be able to get our payments up to date, to get our cash flow healthy, so that from around end of July, around there, hopefully we'll be in a position where we no longer have stock of arrears, we no longer delay payments of supplies, and we actually have a very healthy cash flow balance in the Ministry of Finance. That's the goal, that's the plan. All the approvals in Eswatini must still take place. But we were very happy to hear that the World Bank has approved, and that means this process can now start. And we are believing that once and for all, we can put arrears to bed and actually make sure we enter a cycle of paying suppliers on time. And when we start paying on time, we can now start working on procurement, making sure that we get goods at the right prices, making sure that we actually have a proper competitive process, because sometimes if we can't pay on time, people can't even supply just because they can't afford to wait for government for payment. So I think once we can get that right, we can do a lot of fixing in the whole procurement space in government once we can get the cash flow right. So it is the first step, I believe, in the right direction from a procurement perspective. And as well, as we all know, it's just the right thing to do, is to pay everyone on time. So yeah, that was great news for us and a great outcome also from the spring meetings. Thank you, Maswati.